Welcome back to the class after the spring break. I hope you enjoyed it thoroughly, the spring break. And I wish I was addressing you in person so we could talk about what did you all do. I think I saw some of you at the beach, and some were gambling in Las Vegas, and some were mountaineering back in Colorado. So as long as you made it back and you're happy with the break, and we've got another, I don't know, about 6 weeks of the lectures left. They're a little past the midpoint of this course, so we'll have another 5 or 6 lectures left. I don't know exactly, but somewhere in that range. Having said that, as a reminder, I want to reiterate, say it again, reiterate, repeat. That's what repeat is reiterate, say it again, that there are a total of 4 sections of this course, which I've said many times, day 1, and 2 of the sections are complete, done, and there were the definitions and concepts, which took maybe 2 or 3 lectures, and then we carried on to part 2, second section of this course was about different types of agreements, and that's all over. And it was hybrid agreement, I believe it was. And now, having come back after the spring break, we will start section 3 or part 3 of this course. And before that, let me give you a reference in case you are looking for references. And this is from the book that you purchased. I hope you did. From the university's copy center, I asked you to do it. And the first section of this course consisted of definitions and concepts, 25 of them. And there is no single reference that I can say, go to this chapter and pick up all the definitions there. There's no such thing. They're all discussed in various locations, some from my own mind, some from my experience. So there's hardly a reference I can quote in that respect. Having said that, if you are taking notes on whatever I'm saying, particularly the first part, the first section, and I might ask you to define carried interest. Only the part that I taught you in the class, then you can lay that down in the final exam. If I say what's normal price, define that, okay? So there is no particular reference I can give you for that. For part 2 or section 2, which dealt with different types of agreements, yes, fortunately, there is a reference I can cite in addition to what I'm saying or teaching in the class. And the reference is in the book that you purchased, and you can see it says Government Oil Company Relations. Okay, this is from the table of contents, the book that you purchased, and it says here, this should be with you. It says Government Oil Company Relations, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5th from the top is the title. Not everything, but many things that I've discussed in the class and before the spring break can be understood. Maybe some parts of it you can read again if there's something that you didn't understand from that reference I've just given you from the book. Okay. Now, having said that, we are on to the third part section of the course. The interesting one, I would say, is about legislation, policy question. At the end of part 3, we come up with a very final, very nice conclusion, a vital conclusion, that how does one know that you or that person has made a good agreement? It doesn't matter to me whether the person is representing the government or representing the company. It really doesn't matter. But for the agreement from day one, I've been shouting that it's a marriage, and the marriage only works well when both the husband and the wife, the spouses, both benefit. the matrimony relationship they have. The same thing with agreements. I would not say this is better or that is better. It has to be good for both sides. So we're going to talk about regulations and policy questions. And please don't worry about it. I'll make it as simple as possible. Nothing I've said so far is difficult. I'll keep the same approach, and we'll keep this and a series of future lectures very simple. So we want to start with, how do we know whether you're a government person or a company person that we have, or whichever side you present, and made a good agreement? That's, you can appreciate that if I were to pick one thing out of the whole course, this single aspect should be critical, vital. And I'll give you a list of 3, 4, 5 items. Is it, look at this, look at that, look at this. And if you've got this, doesn't matter, government or company, you have a good agreement. And if you don't have item number 1 or number 6, number 5, that means you have to go and fix that problem. Okay? And that'll be the conclusion. It will definitely not come today. It may, and I don't promise, it may end that part 3 next time, next lecture, and maybe the time after that. This is where I move very carefully, slowly, deliberately, so that it sinks in. Nothing difficult, okay? Right from the start, you'll realize, right from as I'm about to start, part 3, section 3, and you'll find it's already showing some signs of being a very different approach to teaching, okay? And the question is, how do we know that we have a good agreement? That'll come at the end of part 3, okay? Let us start, let's see, by defining what is a good agreement. I know we all know it's good for both sides, but that's easy said than done. The question is, how do we make it good for both sides? It's not nice to sit down and have a cup of coffee and say, oh, good agreement, Dr. Malik, is one good for, oh yeah, of course, good for both sides. Every child knows that. But the question is, how do we make it good for both sides? That's what we're going to be looking at, okay? So this is going to be a very different kind of a lecture, I'm cautioning you, where I'm going to give you the end of the story at the beginning of the lecture today. It's like going to the movie theater to see a movie. And you get to see the end first before you even start looking at the movie. So this, you can say, it's almost opposite, going in an opposite direction. I'm going to give you the end before I give you even the beginning of this movie. Yeah? Of course. Now I give you the end, but you may not understand what the end is. I'm just going to tell you. So don't get anxious. Well, we don't understand because I've not explained anything to you yet. So as we proceed from today onwards towards the end, by the time I reach the end, I hope you will be confident then to know where I was leading all along for the 2 lectures today and next time, and maybe the one after that. Vital, important lecture. We talk about policy, legislative issues, laws, and regulations. Okay? So let's start with the question, what is a good agreement other than it's got to be? I'll say a few things about it and I'll write them down. Good agreement is one that is not fixed. A good agreement that is not static. A good agreement is not that is stationary. All these mean the same thing. Let me write it down. I write them all of these. A good agreement is not static. If it is not static, not the same as not not stationary. That means what is? A good agreement that way. Flexible. Why is it flexible? Because it is not static, it is not stationary. Things like that. What else can I say about the good agreement? Because it is flexible, good agreement okay. Move. Why does it move? Because it is flexible. It's not stationary. It is not static. That would mean that it must be moving. A good agreement moves automatically. It's very important. A good agreement moves automatically. What else can I say about a good agreement? Now, I've said 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 things. All these 5 things say the same thing. A good agreement is not fixed. It is not fixed, same as saying it is not static, same as saying it is not stationary at one place. It is flexible. If it is flexible, that means it moves. And if it moves, the question is how does it move? Automatically. Automatically is critical. Now let's count again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Saying the same thing. Same thing. The question is, I'll put on the word and I'll explain what it is. A good agreement now, it has no distinction, no economic, that is a no economic distortion. I hope you read it. No economic distortion. Okay. Now I have to explain to you what does that mean. What I'm saying is a good agreement that is not static and but it is flexible. It has no economic distortion. Before that, let me give you some more ideas about it. A good agreement is not. I think I bought a new one today. I'm using a new brand new. Yesterday. Not dead. Not dead. If it is not dead, that means what? It is alive. Let's count again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 things. To say the same thing. All be the same thing. The good agreement is, I'm going to repeat, this is the end. Don't worry, you don't understand anything at this stage, because I told you I haven't explained anything. This is the end. The good agreement is not fixed, not static, not stationary, not, it is flexible, it moves automatically. Very important. And it is not dead. If it moves, it's not dead. And if it is not dead, it's alive. This have we heard it optimally. That's the problem. Almost all agreements are dead. That's the problem. And I'm saying, therefore, they are not good agreements because they're dead. They don't move automatically. Because they're dead. Almost all. There's not one agreement I've seen that moves automatically. I'll show you an agreement that will do that. Take them through the more lectures. If an agreement has these qualities, any one of them or all of them, that means it has no economic distortion. I'll explain distortion in a minute. When will it have no economic distortion? Good agreement will have no economic distortion. Everything. When it is sensitive to when will it not have any economic distortion, good agreement or contract? When it is sensitive to oil price or gas price. We just got it, you can see that. We just got a new one. We can do it. This word is oil price. When it is sensitive to costs. Let me see, I've got others too. Another time. And when it is sensitive to oil production. Make sense to oil or gas production. And production of the oil or gas is dependent on what? The size of the field. Now I will read it back to you. What you've just written, you can see this with oil price. One is oil price. Good agreement, I'm going to repeat because this is the crux, this is the main story behind this lecture today. Very unusual. Good agreement is not fixed, it's not static, it is not stationary, therefore it is flexible. It moves automatically, and it moves, it's not certainly not dead. If it's not dead, of course, it's alive. And when that happens, that means the agreement does not cause an economic distortion. You can see the word economic distortion above my head. And when it has no economic distortion, I'll explain everything, don't worry about it. That means the agreement is sensitive to the price of oil or gas, cost or operating cost, cost of OPEC operating expenditures, and production from the field. Right, the oil production field from the field or the size of the field, same thing. Now, but let us try to uncover some of these. Slowly, you'll begin to appreciate that slowly, very slowly. Just put some curiosity in your mind at this stage. Now, I'll give you an example. There is no, as I said, no perfect agreement. There's one agreement type that comes very close to being perfect, not perfect. I like it. Towards the end, I'll explain what it is, which country has it. It is getting to be more and more popular. It's fairly new. And then you'll see the merit, the advantage of what you're learning today. I know I'm raising expectations. I know that. So the word is no economic distortion. You see the word no economic distortion? Let me see if I can explain that first. Then I'll explain to you what I mean by the agreement is not dead, okay? And it is alive. I'll give you an example to make you understand what do we mean by economic distortion. Let us say you, whoever you are, a petroleum engineer in charge of a field, a big oil field, and I come to you, Mr. Petroleum Engineer, Mr. Well, let's call him Mr. Petroleum Manager, Petroleum Engineer Manager of this field. And I come to you and say, do me a favor, Mr. Manager. So what do you want? I say, you're the technical head honcho, he's a big man? He said, yeah, I'm the big man. I said, I want you to do me this favor. And that is, tell me, only looking at the technical factors, what is the future life of the field, you think? Only keeping the technical factors. I'm talking technical, that's pressure, volume, temperature. You say, well, okay, come back tomorrow. I'm working hard today, and I'll tell you. What is the life of your field here? Only keeping technical considerations in mind. I go back the next day and I said, Johnny, Mr. Manager, what have you found out? And he said, working very hard, I have found out that the field that you're talking about, based on technical factors, remember I keep using technical factors, is, let us say, 15 years. Okay, fine, thank you. 15 years. Now I ask him, Mr. Manager, let me ask you another favor again. Can I ask you a favor, please? He said, sure. What do you want? I said, now, in the same field, it's 15-year life based on technical factors, yes? Yes. Now, tell me the life of the field, the same field, after incorporating taxes also. First, it is non-technical, no taxes were considered. Tell me, Mr. Manager, what is the life of the field after considering taxes? I'll come back tomorrow. I'll tell you. So when I go back to him the next day, he says, well, I've been working hard on your field. After taking into account the tax factors also, considerations also, the life of the field is now 12 years, not 15. That 12 only, reduced by 3 years. Only because of what? Because of taxes. So that is the answer. That taxes cause a distortion in the life of the field. You see that by 3 years. So we do not want factors, such as in this case taxes, to distort the life of the field. We still want the life to be 15 years. We'll come to that. How do we do it? So now you understand what is economic distortion. The taxes resulted in an economic distortion. A good agreement has no economic distortion. I hope that's clear. Simple. Now you say, Dr. Malik, what is this move automatically? How can an agreement move automatically? I'll show it to you, slowly. And what does it mean, move? How can an agreement move? Have you seen a dead body? Oh, well, okay, now let's get to the good side. Have you seen a human being, a person, a living person? And you're just laughing. I know, yeah, of course, Dr. Malik, the 51,000 students in campus, I've not seen all, but I've seen quite a few of them. They're all living. I know. Not a difficult question to ask. Then I ask you, have you ever seen a dead body? I know, a dead body? I say, yeah, I've seen a dead body. I say, well, let me ask you now, what is the difference between a living person and a dead body? And no, I do not be serious now. What is the difference between a dead body and a live person? I wish you were sitting in the class in front of me and I could see you chuckle, ha ha ha. Difference is that when you see a living human being, and I crack a joke, I crack a joke in front of him, let's say his name is Bob. I say, Bob, let me tell you a joke. And if the joke is nice, how would Bob react? He laughs, ha ha ha, very nice joke, I enjoyed it. Would I have to tell him, Bob, the joke has ended, please laugh? If there is a good joke. No. He will laugh automatically without my telling him joke is over, laugh. Am I right? Of course. That shows that the person is alive and he reacts. Now I'm using the word react. Automatic. The moment I finish the joke, he's, I didn't have to tell him to laugh. He just said, oh, it's very funny, man. He reacts automatically. Now, what happens to a dead body? Let's give him the name John when he was alive. Now he's dead. So I go to John with dead body, not sitting, he's lying on the ground, on the floor, on the bed, so a dead body. An example. I say, hey, John. Does he look at you and say, hey, Dr. Malik? No, he's a no expression change. He's dead. And I say, hey, John. He's not reacting. Does dead person react? Yeah. John, let me tell you a joke. No reaction. So I tell him a joke. And at the end of the joke, which I told Bob, he was laughing. Will John react and start laughing? He's dead. The expression on his face would not move a little, even the slightest bit. He's dead. That's what it is. Dead person does not react. Dead agreements do not react. I hope you get the message. React to what is the question? They do not react to, dead agreements do not react to what? Or they're not sensitive to what? Three things. I put down the oil price, the cost, the operating cost, they're not reacting to it. Dead agreements don't react like a dead person. And the size of the field or the production from the field, how big or small it is. That's the problem with dead agreements. They do not react. However, in real life, does the oil price go up and down? Yes. Should that be reflected with agreement? Could the price? Yes, because that it doesn't reflect the change in price. Operating costs go up and down. Similarly, they go up and down, should not the agreements react automatically, like dead body doesn't react automatically, or otherwise either, live body. So the problem is agreements don't react. They're dead. Same thing with operating costs, and same thing with oil price, same thing with the size of the field. That's the problem with dead agreements, and they all dead. And 10 minutes, 20 minutes, whatever time I have to explore what kind of an agreement you have, because in life, the price changes, the cost change, the production changes. And therefore, it's paramount, it's critical, it's vital. The agreement change accordingly. Logic, simple logic. Now, giving you the answer, not the answer, the conclusion. Today's lecture and subsequent lecture will help you understand what you've just heard. I didn't say you understood it. Yes, what you just heard me tell you, not convince you, not make you understand it, but yes, now my job is to make you understand what I've said. Strange way to teach, I know that. Now, let me take off whatever I've written on the board and start again. Slowly uncovering the enigma, the mystery behind what I've just said. You see, I'm trying very hard to give you 2-3 words, hoping you understand one of them. So I'm really working hard to make you understand the language thing, enigma, mystery, and all that. Same thing. But give me a minute, let me wipe this off, and then I'll start again. And then when I start, it will be again something very strange that I'm going to say, and then things will begin to flow, okay? Question to you is, now we're starting unraveling on what you just slowly begin to explain, take out the complexity of what I've just said. Question, how do governments all over the world collect their revenues? Governments collect revenues. That's the question. And this is the time when I ask you, I want an audience going back and forth, because I ask you tell me to the student, you tell me, and whatever they tell me, I just listen. I never say you're wrong. I just listen. Well, I can tell you 90%, maybe 100% of the participants, the students, when I'm lecturing at the university, I call you the students. When I'm lecturing around the globe, I don't refer to them as my students because some of them are ministers and big headhunters who don't. I say my participants. So when I ask this question, they almost always, all of them say, most of them, if not all, the governments collect revenues to run their government business through taxes. And I ask one person, he says taxes, ask another person, he says taxes, ask the third person, says, and after about 5 answers, they all say taxes. I said, let's stop, why waste the time? The next few will give me the same answer. I'm going to write on the board how government collect revenue. It's going to be very strange. Again, you get ready for a strange approach to how government collect revenue, including our own government. US government does too, this way. The two ways the government collect revenue, I'm talking about American government also. One is taxes, of course. Meaning, let me take it out first. One way, you take off taxes. One way, the government collects revenue, the government takes it. The second way, the government, US government also collect revenue from oil business. When the oil company or any company, they give it. That's right. You wonder, why would anybody give the government? Not the thing, give it, take it, they will take it. I'll explain everything, what's the difference between. The government takes it. They say, they know about that. That is what involuntary. Why do with taxes and bidding auction, same thing. I'll explain bidding for those who are not familiar with this word. Let me tell you, so there are two ways the government collects revenues. Now, give you the example of the United States. In my example, I put some attachment that go with this lecture. Okay? I might as well remember to show you this. Takes it means it is involuntary. That means taxes. Nobody likes to pay taxes. It is not voluntary. You say, government, I want to pay taxes. You met anybody who doesn't want to pay taxes? Let me give you a little sides, to open your mind. Put this in your mind. It made me realize how lucky I was by paying taxes. What did you hear? How lucky, remember the quote, how lucky I was that I was paying taxes. Have you ever heard anybody say that? And I'm saying that loud and clear. And everybody resents paying taxes. And I say how lucky I am. You see, the opposite to the rest of the world, the way I think. I'll explain why I say that, how lucky I am. And you should consider yourself lucky when you pay taxes also. So, wow, come on, Dr. Malik. This actually happened with my tax accountant. Nancy Berry, fine lady who had been doing my taxes for 30 years. And now this year they're due at April 15th. She's already prepared mine. I just have to sign and send them in to the IRS, the government. I remember 5-7 years back, my taxes, my personal tax was horrendous. I was out of the world. My goodness, I was paying a tremendous amount of tax. I mean, I can't even think of it. I was paying lots of tax. And so I was sitting across the table from Nancy, who always prepared my taxes. And I said, Nancy, come on now, Nancy, this is a lot of tax I'm paying. And she knows I'm a very conservative person, and I will never make an error in paying my share of tax. Never. She knows me. I'm very honest. Put in every cent I make, my taxes to the government. So when I said, Nancy, look, there's so much tax I'm paying. What's wrong with you? Can you look at it? You know what she said? She put me in my place. And after that, Dr. Malik was a different person. What she said to me after I was complaining about paying so much tax. You probably have never heard what she said to me. Never wait again. She said, she took my name, she was a Christian, first name. Why are you crying so much? She didn't quite say that. She was kind of. Why are you so upset about paying taxes? Why are you so upset about paying taxes? She confronted me in my face. You know what she said? You do not have to pay even 1 cent tax, not even $1 tax, she said to me, very seriously. The reason you're paying so much tax is because you made so much money. If you don't want to pay any tax, no, you don't have to. Don't make so much money. Stand on Guadalupe, put your hand in front, and I'll start begging. Beg. Please give me $1 for my hamburger. No tax. You will not have to worry about paying taxes. Aren't you lucky that you pay taxes? Because you made a lot of money, which was correct. After that day, young ladies and young men in my classes, I never complained about taxes. Never. I said, thank God. Of course, I want to be very clear. I want to pay my share of taxes. Not taxes which I think are unfair, but if the government says, yeah, this is the tax I'll pay. But of course, I have a right to the government say, okay, this is not fair. The government, you may make me do that. It's involuntary. Because I don't want to be getting something for getting something, and for that I must pay. The government, I pay taxes because they provide me security and 100 other things, roads and bridges and lands and God knows what all. That's what it is. But back to the course now. Word under tax, next the taxes, I wrote down involuntary. Involuntary is whether you like it or you do not like it. You still have to pay taxes. It's not your choice. It's laid down in the law. We can't pay your share of tax. It's involuntary. Everybody knows that. I don't have to explain. Taxes is one way to collect revenue by the government. You say, what is the second way, Dr. Malik? The government gets revenue. One is they take it, the second is what? Look over here. The company likes to give it. I give it. When the government doesn't ask you, say give it. If whatever you want to give. If you don't want to give anything, we don't care. Give it it's voluntary. It says the word voluntary. Whatever you want to give. You want to give $100,000, you want to do, that's okay. If you want to give $10, that's okay. If you want $5 million, we'll just take it. Don't worry about it. Take it in the sense like, we don't set how much you want to give. It's voluntary. At this time, you must be wondering what is wrong now with Dr. Malik. I know that. Because you think, why would anybody give money to the government voluntarily? The oil business does that hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars. I've got this to show you. It'll come as any time. $500 million was given by the oil companies to the government of America in some years here. $500 million? The government didn't say to Shell Oil or Chevron, I'm looking at that company. You'll see it when it comes, when you see the attachment, it's coming to you. 500 million, sometimes it's much more. Billions and hundreds of millions of dollars are given by the oil company to come in the United States. Not because the government says, give me so much. Which I don't want to give you anything, that's okay. So, the first part of like the taxes is obvious. I don't have to explain anything. The second part, how companies give it voluntarily, is through bidding or auction. You see the word bidding or auction? Bidding or auction. I'm sure you have a word in Arabic or Spanish or Chinese language for this word bidding or auction, they go together. But I don't know Chinese or Arabic, so I can't tell you what word it is. So I'll explain what is bidding or auction. The process is a process. Let us say I'm here, you can't see my you see my table, but I'm sitting at the table and chair. I'm banging my head on the table. Okay. Well, what you can see, you can see the board, the whiteboard behind me, of course. Let's go back to that. You can see it. And let us say I want to get rid of it. I don't need it anymore. I'm trying to explain auction a bit. For whatever reason, I don't need it. Maybe I'm retiring, so I don't want it. I want to get some money for it and just live, get a few hamburgers. So I put up this board, or you can have a table, whatever you want to put up, out in the front of my house as an example only, and say to whoever is going by, whoever is collected, I might announce I'm going to get rid of my whiteboard. Anybody wants to come and take it, come over. It's an auction. I'm going to, and the person walking by, maybe the 5 people who were there. 10 o'clock, I said, 10 o'clock, I'll start the auction process meeting. They said, we want it, the whiteboard. And one person says, A person says, I'll give you $10. B says, I'll give you $15. C says, I'll give you 20 and 25 and $30. E says $30. That process is called auctioning. 5, 10, 15, 20. The process is called auctioning my board or bidding. The $5, $10, $15 is a bid. A said, I bid or I'll buy this for $5. The B says, I'll buy it for $10. So each $5, $10, $15 means it's a bid of $5. This is my buying price. I'll buy it for $5. So that is voluntary. One says, no, I'll buy it for $15. That's up to him. It's worth $15 to that guy. He was willing to give $15. The $5 thing is only worth $5 to me. I'm only going to give it $5. So it's a voluntary action. Will you follow? Each 5, 10, 15 is a bid by individuals. The process bidding takes place when there's an auction. That's the process of bidding. I hope you understand that. That's voluntary. You don't want to go and buy my table. You not buy, bid for my. Nobody's going to say anything. You can you just don't have to show up to my front yard and say, I want to buy it for $10. You don't. So it's a voluntary thing. Normally, the highest bidder gets it. Now you know, and I'm going to explain a little more of it in the real world, oil. What happens in case of bidding and auctioning in the United States? I hope I've explained to you what is a bidding and auction, the process auction, individuals buying power of 5, 10, 15 is a voluntary thing, depending on how much you can benefit from the whiteboard. Some benefit more, some benefit less, and the price is voluntarily, whatever they work to them. I hope I've explained to you what I meant by take it and give it and voluntary and bidding and auction and so on. In the United States, every year, US government Department of the Interior. The Department of the Interior is a part of the US government. Looks at the Gulf of Mexico, it's just a Gulf, water, and draws up little blocks. Blocks. It's just a Gulf with the water. And ask companies, Exxon, Chevron, ENI, RJ, Total, all these companies, to come here, or not come here. Tell us, the government says every year, hold this one or twice, tell us, these are the facts. I'm going to show you on the board how much you want to pay, how much bid. This is an auction, remember, they auction these blocks. Auction. Each company tell us sealed bid, nobody sees it. How much are you willing to pay us, the US government, Department of the Interior, for this block of geological structure or the lease block, lease. A lease, there's another B lease, and there's another C. And there's a lot of blocks. I'll show you. And you voluntarily, Shell says, I'll give you this. Exxon says, I'll give you this. Is there water there? Yes. Are they sure how much oil is there? No. Maybe it's a dry reservoir. There's nothing there. Who knows? But let me give you. So it's, basically asking the companies to, come up with a bid. How much is it worth to you? Just tell us how much you give us. Let me draw you a couple of things and talk to you how bidding happens in America. One, this is the process I'm going to discuss with you is called cash bonus bidding in America. right? And cash, bonus bidding. The second kind of bidding I'm going to talk about is royalty bidding. Let us say, make it life easy, in the Gulf of Mexico, just stretch of water. This year, the government says we've got 2 blocks in the Gulf, leases area to lease out for exploration, A and B, and we want you to send us a bid. See that, put it in an envelope. The Government of America Department of Interior, what will you give for block A? What will you give the government for block B? Let's write down some numbers. Okay. So 3 bidders, Exxon, Chevron, and Shell, submit their bid to the US government. Exxon says, US government will give you $100 million now. Now. Chevron says, no, forget it, I'll give you $250 million. And Shell says, oh, Shell, we think we have enough money to give you $400 million. Who should get the bid? This is auction, right? Obviously, everybody in this classroom is going to shout that the government of America is going to grant Shell the bid and the rights to explore and produce oil in the Gulf of Mexico. Piece A, Shell. Correct? Shell get the block to explore and produce. Shell will, because you're the highest bidder. What is the advantage of this process of getting money like this to the government of the United States through bidding? What is the advantage of bidding to the US government? Normally, I would ask the students, but here we have no students in the class. I just have to tell you. That's why I say that lecture, 1 hour can be easily be 3 hours over on campus in person. Lecture 2 hours could easily be 4 or 5, 6 hours on campus. And so really these lectures get very concentrated because no interaction, no, I wouldn't say waste of time, no time spent in interaction. Oh, these creators. So the benefit of this process of bidding in this case is called cash bonus. Cash bonus, I should have written down. The government will get the cash now, number one. The benefit of that, I don't know, of cash bonus bidding, it's called, I'll write it down. The benefit of cash bonus bidding is with cash is, let's say we give you cash now to the US government. Very simple. There's no risk to the US government. Write it down. You're not going to find this in the book. No risk to the US government. US government got the money, $400 million. There's no oil found. Too bad. Shell lost its money. And then no risk to the US government. Benefit number 2. Slowing down because you're writing, because you're not going to find it somewhere. The second benefit is, in technical and economics terms, the present value of money. I'll explain what that means. The dollar today is worth more than the dollar after 5 years because of inflation. What you can buy for $100 today, you'll have to spend $125 after 2 years. That is inflation. So here you get the money today, US government, versus getting it in the future through royalty of some kind. You're getting $400 million today to spend. What if you get more in the future of $450 million? But that is not what it is today. That might be adding up to less than 400 today's value, what they can purchasing power of the dollar today is much greater than it would be in the future, depending on how far into the future you're looking. The present value of money today is another big benefit for the government. Okay. No overhead costs to the government. No, what? Shell Oil chairman writes a check of $400 million, send it to the 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue, 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue, the White House, made payable to the US Treasury. So all that whoever the president says, Mr. Biden says to his granddaughter, he's too old to have his own daughter that's young, maybe 12, 80-year-old hey, Debbie, take this check and put it in the government bank. That's all. She gets on the bicycle and across the street into Pennsylvania Avenue, White House is the government bank. She just deposits. There's no overhead costs involved. That's a benefit. All money goes back to the government without any other overhead cost, because in government there's so much overhead cost, a lot of money is wasted that way. So you can see clearly the cash bonus bidding has a major big advantage to the US government, or any government. Now, the logical question is there any disadvantage to the US government? Yes, there is. Let me go back. When I tried to explain to you that if I'm auctioning this, the whiteboard, and people are coming to bid for how much one pay, $5, $10, $20, like that. What is to my advantage? The one I'm getting auctioning the board is to have more bidders or less bidders. Obviously, it's common sense. The more bidders, the better for me. The more bidders, the Exxon, Chevron, 10 bidders better than having one bidder or two bidders. So what happens? Because the more bidders, meaning one says $5, that is $10, $15, $24. They can, keep increasing, and I'm happy because I'm getting maybe to $45 for my whiteboard. So a successful auction will be one where you have more bidders. Obviously, it doesn't need explaining. Now tell me, how many companies are there in the world, like Shell, for example, who can take $400 million now and just risk it and send it to the government, and we'll see whether we have oil or not in that blockade. Maybe it's a dry hole. $400 million is a lot of money to put at risk. Who knows? There's no oil, maybe it's a dry hole. Maybe the geologist miscalculated it, misinterpreted it. We don't know how much oil is under the ground here. It's an assessment. So there'll be very few companies in the world there are who can just reach and put it in the hand in the pocket and, hey, government, Mr. Biden, hey, it's $400 million. Maybe two or three or four. However, conclusion, for the auction that I'm auctioning my board to be really successful for me, I need many bidders. But this process of getting cash today of $400 million reduces the number of bidders for DC. What does that mean? That is a negative. That is a distortion. We want ideally to have many bidders for block A, but telling them to give me cash now, hundreds of $millions, will reduce the numbers of bidders to very few, thus making it a distorted situation. Not good for the government, the one who's auctioning the block. So yes, there's a good, not so good. That's what I mean by distortion. Cash bonus bidding has advantages and disadvantages. The distortion they're causing is to reduce the number of bidders. Now the question is, how do we increase the number of bidders for the US government? This is the time when I ask, the whole class, everybody tell me, what would you do if you're what would you do, Mr.? What would you do? What would you do? What would you do to increase the number of bidders? Because that would be a good situation. It takes me 15 minutes to get ideas from the students. Okay? Can't wait 15 minutes. I just have to tell. Remember, concentrate. recent. So simple, nothing. If I were the US guy, I said, well, okay, fellas, everybody come. We don't want cash bonus. We don't want you to give us any money. But we would ask you what they call royalty bidding. Whichever company gives you more royalty should get the bid. So they will, so everybody comes to the bidding. Everybody says, oh, I'll go bid because I pay royalty if I produce. I don't pay royalty if I don't produce. They say, oh, yeah, I'm coming because, there's nothing to lose. There's nothing to worry about it. So I'll go bid on royalties, no problem. I only pay when I produce. Remember royalty definition? So the second way the government says is, to get the cash bonus, bid royalty. Whoever wants to give us more royalty, we look at that more seriously. That's the word royalty. Royalty bidding, the second way to put it. You can see the cash bonus bidding, will cause distortion by reducing the number of bids. It's a royalty bidding, someone says, let's say a friend from China National Petroleum Company, let's call it CNPC, that's the name. This government will give you 8% royalty. Audit says government will give you 12%. I think most people here don't, it's a very big company, told me before. I've been there, lectured to them about 200 times, by the way, another time I'll tell you. But I did tell you, everybody has to listen to me to be promoted to change. It's about the size of Shell, for Exxon, or BP, like Shell. You only know about Shell or BP, they will get 1 year. Audit AGIP says 12%. This is not helping us. First, we did have 0.7. And let's see another one. BP. BP says to the government, CNP says 8%, AGIP says 12% royalty, and BP says 20% royalty. Wow, 20%. Wow, 20% royalty. If you do it to give you 20%. Who should get the bid? CNP, China National Petroleum Corporation, one of the biggest oil company in the whole world. AGIP, they are also in the Gulf of Mexico, by the way, also. They're all over the world. Or BP with 20%. Who should get the bid? I can hear you shout. I can sitting here, if you shout in your room, I will be able to hear you here. Every single individual I've met in my life that I've taught this question, whether it's a senior executive from around the globe, all business or whatever, they give you the same answer, the one and only answer they give. They shout, I say, and I make them, I say, I want you to shout so loud, let the walls come down. So they go, oh yeah. I said, no, I didn't hear it. Go one more time. I said, no, it's not loud. I want to hear. Who should get the bid? And they said, oh yeah. And you know what they all shout? And you're shouting too, I know that. BP, they say, get the bid. BP. All of them confident, the BP. And then what do I say? Softly. As far as I live, BP will not get the bid. I will never give the bid to BP. They're almost ready to go flat on the ground. How is it possible? Not good. And so is the case with you. I know that. Because I've told this to thousands of people. I know their action. There's nothing new. You and your friends back in the different countries I talk to, BP will get the bid. And when I said, no, I won't, they almost can't believe what they hear. Now the question is, I'm serious. If you never get my bid, I have to explain to you why I will not give BP the bid. That is the question. Very strange. So obviously you'll have to do a little work for me. And like before, might as well continue now. Like before, I'm going to, in my previous examples of concession and PSA, remember? I gave you the cash flow for concession and PSA. And then we talked about, I gave you 10, 15 minutes to look at PSA, and then I had 10, 15 minutes to look at concession, total 30 minutes. And then we discussed it and why this is better, that is better, and so on, remember? The same way, I'm going to give you a cash flow. It looks like this. This will come as an attachment with today's lecture. Okay. And want you to study this. Start from this end, A, wherever the A is. Start from A, B, C, D, all the way to H. Okay. A, B. Go into each column. Each column, you see the column B, C, D, E, F, E, H, the yellow, remember that? And you'll have to multiply and all that good stuff. You'll be multiplying, you'll be subtracting, you'll be adding, but you'll not even need to divide here. You're going to be on your own, unless you have somebody, colleague, you go join a further friend of yours in the class and work together. Pay extra attention to this because it says on the top, reserve and economic evaluation. To tell you how important is this, it says on the top, when you'll get it, you'll see year 1988. Here, 1988. 1988. How many years have passed? 88, 90, 110, 23, 34 years. It's 34 years now. I've been using the same cash flow for 34 years since 1988. This is the single most cash flow you'll ever have to learn. It's very easy if you're going to be the officer. Whether I'm teaching a course in petroleum agreements, this one, or I'm teaching a course in banking, this in the finance class, I do, or I'm teaching a course on investment decision making, how do you invest? I use 35, 34 years I've been using the same one. That's why it says 1988. Change. Pay extra attention. It's very easy, but you have to pay extra attention to this particular one because you will be needing it. Where you go and what you do. Even if you have nothing with agreements for your own investment, you might be needing it. So I want you to look at that. Go from A all the way to H. A to H. The only thing I want you to do is, it's going to take a long time. You are going to have questions, I know that. What does SCV mean? What does ADV? What is WF? What is CUM? You're going to have a lot of questions. What is gross production? What is net production? What is WI fraction at the bottom? I know what they are, but I want you to look at this and take out the calculator, arithmetic, and do the arithmetic for the next 30, 40 minutes and see what you understand. You are bound to have questions from me about this one. I know that. And I know what the questions are. I've done this so much. So once I think you have spent enough time, struggled and pulled your hair trying to understand every column, then I'll explain to you everything. Without your asking, because I know what the questions are. I'll just, and if you still have a question, ask on the forum, but I know how to cover everything. I would make sure you understand everything. This one, again, go from A to H. Okay. If you do horizontal, if you do just the 2 or 3 horizontal, 88, 89, 90, just the 2 or 3 lines, or the rest is Excel program. You don't have to do the whole thing. You don't have to worry about the whole. Just the 2, 3 more will tell you the whole thing. So I'm taking away a lot of your unnecessary headache. But even understanding this will take a little, because you're seeing it for the first time. So I'm going to give you, how much? Ooh, we're getting there. 40 minutes to look at this. No, I'm going to take the screen show. Constantly, I'm not going to turn off anything. So take your 40 minutes and come back, so we can continue, so I can explain everything, okay? But do it first. Let me backtrack a little bit. And this will come to you again as an attachment B, this lecture. And I forgot at that time, this is attachment A. This will also go with today's lecture. And it only shows you, when you see it, how much cash bonus was given, the $500 million, how much was given by different companies. And the companies I'm reading is Shell and Chevron and Conoco, these companies. And the total was, in one auction, the US government got $500 million, $1 billion in just one auction. And this is to give you an idea, okay? So this will take you maybe 5 minutes to look at this, but it'll go to you. So you know this has to do with cash bonus bidding. But this will take you, whatever I said, 40 minutes, let's give you 40 minutes. Do it. I should pop up here in 40 minutes and we'll start talking about this, okay? Get to work now, please. This is about royalty bidding. Strange it might be, why I would not give all governments to make that mistake. Governments have been making that mistake around the globe. Believe me, they're giving this, whatever, the leases to ones that give them the highest royalty till I go there. But don't do it. And then I explain to them why that can be bad. And then listen and say, oh, yeah, we get it. Okay, it's a policy question we're going to talk about. Now the policy is going to come up. 40 minutes, according to my watch. I should begin. Thank you. Well, I hope you're still there, everybody. So we can start. Something over here. The question before us was, how do I explain to you and my audiences around the globe that why would I not give the contract to explore and produce oil to a company that has given me the highest or the maximum royalty in the process of bidding? In this case, it was BP. Sounds very strange. And for that, I'd asked you to look at this, which I hope you've done with a lot of questions in your mind. I don't think so late in the lecture, over 2 hours, that you will be entertaining my explanation for all of these questions. You're tired, so am I. So I'll just give you some idea, and then we'll proceed from there for the next time when you're more fresh. And with that, I will then explain everything. You have the A, B, C, D are the different columns. And instead of explaining each column individually now, partly, and then taking a break till next time, it will be counterproductive and might be a little confusing. So I've chosen to just stop it here, the lecture of today, and pick it up from where we are leaving off. That is the explanation of all of this. It is not difficult. It may look difficult, but it is not. Actually, what you have in front of me is attachment B in front of, which you have in front of yourself, which is attachment B, is an actual, a real handout to me given by a consulting firm in Austin for 24 or 5 years back. Or was it 30, 90, 35 years back, I believe, which I've used ever since. So what you're seeing before you here now is an actual, a real evaluation, reserve evaluation, economic evaluation of a real oil well done by a real consulting company. Okay, it's not a made-up story. On a real computer, everything is real that I've said. So when I meet you next time, please pay extra attention to it. It's very straightforward, very simple. In fact, 90–80% of the consulting companies, what they do is all drop these do these evaluations. Yeah, of course, they do other things too, but this is the mainstay, the backbone of their revenues are developing this kind of cash flows, okay? So having said that, bear with me, please, until next time when we will meet to clarify everything over here, okay? Having said that, I think we had a reasonably good session today. Strange that it was when I started, that an agreement has to be alive and not dead, and talked about telling a joke to a dead body and they don't react and so on and so forth. There should not be any economic distortions. In case of cash bonus bidding, I explained to you there's a distortion, whereas the government would want more bidders to get a good result for their who gets them, like in this case was Exxon, was Shell, or 400 million. And that the cash bonus caused a distortion. Again, in this case, royalty, we'll talk about. The test is this giving a lot of royalty to giving the contract to a company that is offering a lot of royalty, in this case BP, is that also going to cause distortion? That is the question we have to be asking every time. And without saying yes or no, I'll rather you wait. Keep that as a suspense. It's not difficult. And I'll answer that when we meet next time. Have a good afternoon. I hope to see you soon on your next lecture, okay? Bye-bye. Thank you. It's so long.